cool.
And we are live. Welcome to this week's episode of Sexually Speaking with myself, Keisha Clark, and my gorgeous co-host, my beautiful co-host, Rhonda Burns. Say hello, Miss Rhonda.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, y'all. Welcome. So glad to see you here. Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Eleanor. Oh, man. And gosh, if it's your first time joining us, thank you. Wow, how does it get even awesomer? And you'll see if you roll your cursor across your screen, along the bottom comes up a little menu bar. You can enter things into the chat or to the Q&A. You can option to send a private question to myself and Rhonda, or you can actually ask your question and let everybody see it. We love your questions. We love your feedback. As things are popping for you during these conversations, it is a huge contribution if you're willing to share that sort of virtually out loud via the chat. Morning. And wow, if this is your first time hearing us, landing on Sexually Speaking, or seeing us in a replay, again, thank you. And Sexually Speaking came out of a great adventure and choosing and creating and collaborating with myself and Rhonda Burns over the past roughly year and a half. It was all about the invitation that we chose to accept, we'll say from the universe, to step into more choosing with regards to bodies, with what we know about bodies, with what we love about bodies, with creating with our bodies, and with all of the energies that we, Rhonda and I, are aware of, that we actually refer to as sex, and hence Sexually Speaking, and also the sex of everything is kind of what we explore in these conversations. We call them unconventional conversations to unfuck your life. You can kind of call them whatever works for you. But the target, or one of our targets, is to actually get us off of the square that we've been living on and have a different perspective with our bodies, about other people's bodies, and about sex and what it is and what it's supposed to be and what it could never be and what it might just be that we've never been willing to consider. That includes both physical behavior and a whole lot more. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to play. And if you have questions, please, again, submit those. We'll share some more information with you here toward the end of today's show. If you haven't played with myself or Rhonda on our radio shows, we are both radio show hosts on A2Zen.fm. Rhonda's show airs on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, and my show airs on Friday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. Rhonda's show is Potency is My Game, and it ain't no lie, honey.
No joke.
You want to say hi to everybody? I'm just talking and yapping.
No, I'm just wrapped up in your beauty. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm like, hello, everybody. No, welcome. I'm just, all is well. And for those of you who tuned in before, you might notice I ain't got a stitch of makeup on. My hair is not done. Body chose it, and we'll talk about that later. So if you've never joined us, thank you so much. And for those of you who keep coming back to play, thank you so much. I'm just in such awe and gratitude this morning. Very different from yesterday, but choice creates. So I'm just grateful to be here, and I'm in awe of just the creation of everything. Like, how does it get any better? So yeah, hi. Uh-oh, did you freeze, or is that my end? There you are. Okay, cool.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I think there's something somewhere, but there you are. We're both back, and hopefully for all of you, we're both back. So today's topic, and if you want more about us, you can read a bit in the intro.
Let me make sure I got everything closed down.
Okay, you'll actually be getting your emails each week. You can find out more about us that way. And of course, if you're playing with us on our radio shows, you already know a few things about us. So let's dive into today's topic. This was a really interesting thing to come up, and I was like, well, okay, let's play with that. Sure. So you are so beautiful is today's topic. And how do you respond when someone tells you you are so beautiful? Do you believe them? Do you receive it? Do you feel like you have to say it back to that person? Or do you immediately start to go through the list of things in your head that for reasons of which you cannot be beautiful? Like, well, of course, if you saw this, this, and this, you wouldn't be saying that kind of thing, right?
If you only knew.
If you only knew, right? So I know we're probably the only ones that do that, Rhonda. So what does being beautiful mean to you? And what is beautiful to you? What do you find beautiful? Where do you find beauty? And is there a correlation between beauty or being beautiful or finding beauty and sex? So thank you all for bringing your beautiful selves to play with us. And I wonder what it is about beauty that we're aware of. And what are the lies of beauty that we could uncover, discover, and totally blow up today? So Rhonda, what does beauty bring up for you?
Oh my God. We only have an hour. Oh my God.
I know.
My head is spinning already. So I wonder how many universes I'm also in, right? And I'll tell you funny story. So as I posted on social media this morning, my body has said no to coffee for 5 days. And I love my coffee experience in the mornings, but 5 days of no coffee, I'm like, okay, body, I'm going to honor you. I love. And she said, we can get a venti Starbucks. And I mean, the Hallelujah chorus opened up, like the angels were singing my body. I was like, oh my God. So we come back from Starbucks and I'm like, let's go get in the shower. And she's like, no, I don't want to take a shower. I'm like, what do you mean? We got sexually speaking today. She's like, I don't want to take a shower. And I said, okay, I trust you. I honor you. And then it pinged that today's show was on beauty. I'm like, freak, she's brilliant. Oh my God, right? Like how much was I in the expectation or projection receiving that we're going to be on camera. This is going to be forever, right? Let's look a certain way. Let's put on the whatever. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually ask a question. Wow. And this is what I know. Like, I love being natural and I love just showing up. And I found lately how much I had not been asking, hey, body, would you like to go here? Would you like to, like I had gotten more and more of a routine again. And so as I'm looking at this beauty thing this last week and bodies and shapes and sizes and choices, I found how much I had aligned and agreed with what standards of beauty are like, right? And then I also could see where I'm resisting and defending against certain beauty norms, which doesn't work. So it's really been an interesting week in terms of what am I actually creating? And is it actually working for me in my body? So I have relinquished a great deal of control in the last few days and like, okay, body, show me. And there's a whole lot more ease again. I was like, wow, the body knows, right? So for me, beauty for me is just anything from anywhere that just lights me up, right? So like on my walk this morning, like the pecan trees are budding, right? They're about to pop and drop their outer husks, and like I'm just the awe. And then when I see people, right? I see people, not their bodies, not their color, like I see people, like they're beautiful. It's the essence, it's the energy, it's just everything. So yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg for me. How about you, love? What is up for you?
Well, it's funny to me in the life that I have lived in this body, looking like I do. I created some very interesting experiences that were really largely around what I look like. And I've shared some of that on previous conversations, growing up in an area that was Ku Klux Klan region and not looking like the average white American child. And then just, I in my schooling years, like I did not look like anyone else in my school. Okay. So there was
don't look like anybody else.
I still don't really look like anybody else. I know. There was this constant reminder, of different. And it was like never something I could just let go of. It was never something that wasn't there. And so of course the question of beauty was up a lot because people found things to be beautiful that didn't look like me. And so then the other side of that often was that people stared at me and like they couldn't figure out how my hair got this way, or they couldn't figure out, why my skin was so the color it was or whatever. And mind you now, folks, this is like, I might be dating myself, but this is a number of years ago before it was like really cool and hip and exotic to not just be one particular color, right, of your skin. So, or one particular hair type. So that was a part of like the formative years. And then in college, it was really funny because I went to the West Coast and I was received completely different. Like people loved my hair, like they wanted to touch my hair, you know,
Right.
and there was this like huge day and night difference of the way people responded to me. There was more of a fascination with how I looked and who I was. Now I was in a musical theater program in college, and so, you know, we were all doing goofy, funky things, and even in that group of people, most of whom still had brown hair with not a whole lot of kink or curl to it, brown eyes or blue eyes, and you know they were olive skinned or they tanned much more easily than I did. You know, there was a totally different reception, and so that was the first kind of part of my life that I really, from a conscious space, started to actually look at beauty as something that was even possible. Like, wow. And that's one of the things that this brought back up for me, is it brought into my awareness as we were playing with this, getting ready for today.
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time, I didn't believe that it just wasn't in my universe that people could find me beautiful, whatever that meant. And the insanity of it is really whatever that meant. And I was trying to
Right.
to match that. I was trying to fulfill
Right.
that. But it was like, can you be beautiful to all people? Is that really the point, you know? So of course, when it came to relationship, you know, there was all kinds of awkwardness around that, and the sort of the beauty thing, the beauty question was always up in my universe. So about 4 years ago, um, things began to bubble in my universe, and questions began to come up and be presented to me actually about what was vital to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as I began to play with that over about a 6-month period, I came to the realization, or really the awareness, that beauty was actually really vital to me, which was hysterical. The moment that dawned on me, right, it was like, oh, this is freaking hilarious. Okay. Now, not necessarily physical beauty, although we'll take that, right?
Right.
But it was more of like beauty, finding that beauty that exists everywhere, that looks so different in every application. And that's part of what makes it beautiful to me, right? So,
Right.
um, so now, today, I am able to look myself in the mirror more so than I used to, with a level of ease. And I still, you know, I think we are so aware of how much judgment is running in people's universes about just a little too much here and a little too much there, much like what Eleanor was talking about, the right things in the right places at the
Right.
right amount, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so fascinated. I for like one semester I thought I was going to study archaeology, but part of what fascinates me is like all of these different influences in the cultural, in the spectrum of cultures that exist,
Right.
and what is found beautiful, what is considered attractive, what is considered healthy looking, you know,
Right.
is it's fascinating to me. So when this topic popped, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And you know, we hear phrases like beauty's in the eye of the
Yeah.
beholder, beauty's only skin
Well,
deep,
that's what was popping.
like beauty is,
Right.
yeah, it's like one of those, it's the greatest marketing campaign, well, the second greatest marketing campaign ever to exist on the planet. And I'm
Yeah.
fascinated by this whole thing about beauty. And so what is the first thing
Go
that
ahead.
in my universe, in my family, was this unspoken but very much present energy of like, if you're not beautiful, if people don't find you beautiful, then the value of you is greatly diminished.
Hairball.
Right.
Everything that is. Let's just return all that shite to sender, please. Like,
Yeah, lots, with
no,
tons of consciousness
no,
attached.
no. But
Yeah.
yes, that's what so much of many of us were fed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. It doesn't feel good. Like my entire body went, huh? No.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
going. Proceed.
And now, and there's another thing here is like, I think a lot of men, if you've shown up as a man in this particular incarnation, I think for a lot of men, like I notice well, this is just what I perceive. Okay, it's almost like men aren't allowed to be beautiful. And if we call men beautiful, for some men, that's really tough to receive. And yet I grew up dancing. And so men's bodies, women's bodies, all kinds of bodies, I find them beautiful, you know, and there wasn't really anything off limits. Like bodies are beautiful regardless. Right. So if you're a man and you're listening, you're in on this conversation, I'm just curious, like, what is it that, are you able to receive someone telling you that you're beautiful, or does something about being in a male body automatically dictate that you can't be beautiful, but you have to be something else? You know, handsome, of course, is like the masculine version,
right? Like,
right?
Yeah. So like, oh my gosh. Ugh.
Thank you, Eleanor.
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much. I work with some bitches, and just because they look cute, they get things so much easier. Grr. So everywhere you're resisting and reacting to being cute, looking cute, and getting everything be easy, right? Like that's the energy that I've been playing with, Eleanor, about resisting seeing what other people are choosing. And most of them are choosing it from a very unconscious space. But if I'm willing to choose from consciousness, and wow, I wonder, would this be something I could play with? Would it be fun for me? Rather than resisting it and reacting to it, and then that actually plays against us. But just asking the questions, but like God, that's all beautiful, Keisha. Like the underlying thread of, this judgment. And when you said beauty is in the eye of the beholder, that's what was circling around my brain. And when you really dive into it, it's true. Mm-hmm. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it's in me, it's within me, it is me. And I get to choose what beauty is to me, for me, by me, with me, right? Like it's up to me. And so if I'm not judging anything or anyone, including myself, first and foremost, like then I can walk by a beer bottle on this side of the road that's a certain color blue, and when the sun hits it, it's like, oh, that's beautiful, right? It's still trash on the side of the road, but if I'm not judging it, right? And so like that's what I've been looking at, is the judgment piece. And I posted just before we got on social media, somebody shared a campaign that I think Gold's Gym totally flubbed on, and it was a picture of a pear, shape. It's an actual pear, and I think, here, let me pull it up real quick. Like I'm like, hell no. But it's what's still, sorry guys, hang with me. I'm all over the place right now. This is no shape for a girl. I don't know if y'all can see it. And they've apologized, right? Like they're backtracking.
I bet they are.
It's like, according to whom, right? According to whom? And we wonder why we have all this stuff. And so
in the 21st century,
right? This anger rose up, and I was like, because it's a lie. So the anger rose up within me because I know it's a lie. And if we don't start speaking to what's being shown out there and pushed at us in marketing, and like it's everywhere, it's so pervasive. And if those of us don't start to show up as we are, authentically, genuinely, makeup or no makeup, it doesn't matter, like, and just go, no, that's not okay. And we don't have to push against it, but what could we be inviting people to a different space of being and having a different conversation about beauty, right? And it starts with me. It starts with you. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's me. It's you. It's all of us. And okay, so sorry. I hope that made sense.
I love that. There's this great energy. My word, great. There's so much moving about, that how aware are we of how many lies are attached to this definition, or these multiple definitions and applications of beauty? That you have to look healthy and fit equals this, or you have to make such amount of money, and if you make such amount of money, then you can take care of yourself, and that looks like this. Right. You have to be from a good family, whatever the hell that means, and then you are more presentable automatically if you're from a good family, and your marriage material. Okay, does any of that make you beautiful? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
And you can be like the most. So so there's a few, like I think many of us are aware. like beauty is like one of the multi-billion-dollar industries, and even if you break it into its subcategories, you're still in the billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's one of the most massive marketing campaigns on the whole planet. It is woven into, like, what I notice is how it's woven into cultural and social standards. But look at how just over the last 100 years, and I think there's even a video or two. I think there's one for women's fashions and for men's fashions of like this short video of like over the last 100 years, like what the fashions were, what was considered beautiful. And if you look at the variations there, it's like, it's so interesting what has been considered beautiful, what is considered beautiful, and then just depending on what region of the world you're in, what's considered beautiful. And then how much, so, oh my goodness, all of the pain that is associated with beauty from all of these interesting points of view that we've bought about what makes a body beautiful. Everybody who's willing to choose something different, would you choose that now?
Yes.
And you can just simply say, you know what, I'm calling it out as a lie. I'm acknowledging that that's a lie. And even if you don't know what you know, would you acknowledge that you know something about beauty? And you don't have to put it into words. You can just begin to acknowledge that you actually have an awareness. And if you would be willing to ask the universe to show you something beautiful, if I was a betting woman, I would wager a little bit of money that you'll start to see some things that are just so striking for you. So, you know, that you'll catch your breath. You will just go, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Whether that's the color of a sunset sky in the Midwest, or a bird flying across the water, or a puppy playing, or, you know, a woman bathing, or a man, a farrier, you know, pounding iron in the heat with the sweaty thing work, you know. It's like, what is beautiful, and what can you find the beauty in? How many things and how many people can you find the beauty in? Are you willing to acknowledge that? And so I'm curious, what is it that allows us to acknowledge beauty? And what is it that trips us up? I notice when I was a kid, I would immediately go into comparison.
Yeah.
Took me right out of being able to be present, much less like just appreciate what was going on, you know?
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, and that's what we do, is we look to other people's points of view and beliefs about what beauty is or isn't, or what it must be like or look like, and then we buy it for ourselves. We just don't even ask questions. We're like, is that the way I think? Is that important to me? And so I was just taking some notes while you were talking. Yeah, and I wrote down, am I willing to redefine beauty for myself? And that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been choosing, because I was really good about like wearing everybody else's stuff. You know, like, okay, yeah, that's their belief. Yeah, I'll believe that too. And it's not until you get still and present with yourself and start to strip away and actually ask, do I believe this? Is this for me? Yes, no? Okay, cool, let it go. And literally it's a process. And so for me, I can see the most striking person, man or woman, the most striking, what I would perceive as gorgeous, you know, body and being, like well-dressed, manicured, just stunning, right? Just like, and then I can actually go past the external, and I can actually see, like, that's a really ugly human being, right? Like that they're toxic, or they're, you know, nasty in their beliefs, or they're unkind, right? I can see past that. But then you get those that are strikingly beautiful, and then the inside matches that external. It's like, whoa, right? And that's where I'm willing to acknowledge what's actually there in the moment. Now, I'm not saying that person has to be toxic all the time, but in that moment, I can be so aware that you may be the most beautiful person on the planet, but you're an ugly human being right now. And I don't want to play with people like that. And I don't have to judge it. I'm just aware of it, right? So,
oh, I love this.
Yeah.
So like our willingness to be aware, let's play with that.
Yep.
Like of where people are functioning from. And this is this is not about deciding. This is not about like, oh, then that means you have an answer. Like, oh, well, this person's just choosing to be a bitch, and so therefore they're functioning from being a bitch. And okay,
Right.
it's more about when like what you were talking about, the toxicity. This you know, this person, a person might have all of the trappings, if you will, of beauty, of good looks, of whatever that represents to many people something that is desirable, something they would want to be, right?
Right.
And then they open their mouth, or they come off the stage, or they get on the phone, and you hear, or you get a kind of confirmation that, oh, wow, they're not choosing kindness, they're not really choosing joy, they are making some things difficult, they seem to enjoy not having ease, whatever energy they're choosing. Are we keeping ourselves at the effect of this narrow definition of beauty because we're not willing to let people have their point of view about what we look like?
Yeah.
There's something else bubbling, but it's not quite in words
Well,
yet.
yeah. So let me go. So in the chat room earlier on, Wendy was very sweet and very kind to say, Rhonda, with or without makeup, you are so beautiful. And I don't even think I even noticed until you mentioned it. Interesting, huh? And thank you. I said thank you. And I'm so very grateful to receive that. For me, so speaking to what you just talked about, Keisha, for me, it's like, I really don't care anymore about what other people think of me.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up as me authentically, and I'm going to trust my body, and I'm going to be in communion with my body. And when you get to that space of just, I'm okay with me, no matter how I show up today. I'm not going to judge me. I'm not going to judge how I look. I'm not going to judge my size, right? Like when you get to the space of being, people actually can see you for who you are, regardless of how you show up in physical form. Because I work tirelessly. I play with constantly being space and being presence.
Yeah.
And so that people can actually get to know me, and they don't have to have the projections of how I should look, and they don't have to have the expectations of how I should show up. Does that help? Does that make sense? Does that speaking to, yeah. So it's along the lines of what you were just talking about, is like, how much is my commanding being present, being authentic? Where did that thought go? It just went away.
Well, I can say, as you were talking, what started to pop was, the expression, other people's judgments of me are none of my business.
Right.
And so it's interesting that we're talking about beauty, and beauty is really relative to what, where we come from, what we believe, or what we're choosing to believe in that 10 seconds in my personal experience. And so if I apply that to beauty, I heard the question, are you willing to let other people think you're ugly?
That would be like for me, totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can say there was a time that I blood sweated and teared not to let people think I was ugly, because I would have done anything for people to not think I was ugly. And ugly is a judgment too.
Right?
Really.
Like,
right?
What does ugly mean to us? Well, that's interesting. I love that question. I'm writing it down. Are you willing to allow other people to think you're ugly?
Yeah.
Truth. Yeah, I am. And there's freedom in that.
Isn't there?
So much freedom, right? Just like I'm willing to allow people to think that I'm beautiful too.
Exactly.
It's all really just judgment either way, right?
Yeah.
For the most part on the planet, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Brilliant.
Isn't it
question.
funny though, like how many of us would rather, we actually, now this is going to take me, this might be a little bit of a brain twirl.
Oh, okay. Everybody expand out. Get present.
We actually, given the energy we spend a lot of our time in, for many of us, won't speak for everybody, but for many people, what that is actually demonstrating is that we're willing to spend more energy and time in the likelihood or the possibility that people won't like us, Like we're putting more of the projection of that into the world than we are of the possibility that people could like us. And again, like is based on what their point of views are, you know, how they're seeing you, interpreting you, receiving you. So again, it's almost like that their points of view have nothing to do with you. They're none of your business.
Yeah.
And yet, when we're putting a relationship into play, the whole thing of beauty is like a big deal. We want someone to find us attractive. We really want someone to be interested in us. We really want someone who like desires to woo us, you know. So there's a few things that kind of come up with that as I'm playing with this energy. It's like, how significant are you making what you look like in the course of putting a relationship into play, meeting people, having conversations? What goes on for some of you guys? And if you, we would love to hear your
feedback. And somebody kindly typed in, I resist someone thinking I'm unattractive, yet I don't fully accept their compliments either. So Truth, what are you actually aware of in those moments? And again, like this emphasis on the external beauty and finding people attractive, right? Like how much is that a lie as well? Like how much do people judge us and create or not create relationships with us based on that external beauty or non-beauty, whatever that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it would be a very different experience and planet if we showed up with one another, regardless of what we looked like that day, and just like, hi, how are you? And here's a perfect example of this. So I went to get Starbucks today, and as I'm driving through the drive-thru, I'm talking to the barista who's given me my drink, and they're finishing it up, and he's like, he looked me eye to eye, and he's like, how are you today? And I said, I am blissful. How are you? And so we started a conversation, and he was totally flirting with me. Flirting. And he's like, and I asked him if he does this full time, and he's like, no, I'm a guitarist, and where do you play, and what's your name? Hi, shake the hand. Like total, because we were willing, not because he was, you know, he's just a barista behind the window, and I'm just a customer driving through looking whatever. Like we were present with one another, and we flirted, and we smiled, and we looked eye to eye. That's the kind of reality I'm here to create and co-create with. To not judge people by where they work or what they dress at, like, right? But it starts with me. It starts with me not judging me and being willing to be present with people no matter their station in life, no matter their zip code, right? No matter what. And so to the question in the chat room, like resistance creates persistence, right? If you resist someone thinking you're attractive, well, a great question from Access Consciousness, Truth, who does that belong to? Mm-hmm. Is it that they think I'm unattractive, or are they so busy judging themselves and judging their reality and judging and expecting certain things, right? Like it actually has nothing to do with us. Yeah. So if we can just be really going back to that awareness piece, if we can just go back to what's really going on here? Do I love and appreciate and accept and adore me for who I am, where I am? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of me. Mm-hmm. And if we don't fully accept someone's compliments, what does that say about our receiving, right? We don't have to buy the bullshit, but we can still have barriers down and receive energies. Just things to ponder.
Totally. And I'm loving this. It's like something that I'm aware of too is there's this interesting thing that goes on, and it's like a split-second thing. I don't think it's really cognitive for most of us. Mm-hmm. I've just noticed it as I've played with engaging people and sort of meeting them where they are kind of thing. A lot of us, when we see someone, when we meet someone, mm-hmm. we have that initial response that goes on. And part of that is visceral and part of that is cognitive. And much of it, if not all of it, is really based on like what interactions we've had with something that's similar to the way that person looks or smells or the image of them is.
Frame in the first place. Reference, yeah.
Yeah. And so what I find fascinating is when we see somebody that we find ugly. Like I've actually heard people who like look at someone and actually make a comment about them being unattractive or being ugly, or, you know, in some people's comedy acts, they choose to include making statements about other people and calling them, referring to them as ugly, unattractive, or whatever word they're using. But it's like, so what I'm looking at is when I first engage somebody, these days, I can't say that I have the point of view that I just, my eyes fall upon someone and I go, oh, that person's ugly. It's like, that doesn't really happen. But if I did have that, like when I was a kid and I was buying into the whole thing, what I'm aware of now is it's like, what was really going on was that was me going into resistance of the possibility that I was like that, because I had already judged what that looked like as being something wrong. Now, that's a really general term, but I wonder how often we're in reaction before we're even thinking about it.
We're on automatic pilot.
Yeah, so like the dating scene, okay? So how many people are fucking desperate in the dating
left. Right?
Okay, I mean, it's like, and I am not saying that as judgment. I am saying, like, how many people go into the dating world, whether it's online or speed dating or, I don't know, skydive dating, whatever. How many?
That's fun.
Business, I don't know. And there's so much desperation, because there's this, I want you to find me attractive. I want to be attractive to men. I want to be attractive to women. I want to be attractive. I want to be wanted. I want to be desired. And yet you're not willing to be attractive, to be found attractive. You're not willing to be seen. You're not willing to be desired. But at the same time, there's so much awareness you have. So when you're in a room full of people, whether that's a club or a speed dating event or whatever, networking event, it could be anywhere these days. Because what I'm noticing, like, and I think that with social media, like, this is just sort of exacerbated, because we're never unattached from this thing we call a device, right. And that energy is always present. And how aware are we of how many people are desperately seeking approval and validation?
Yeah.
And most of us think that that's going to come in the form of a relationship. So, and by relationship, I mean primary partnership kind of relationship. Okay. Yeah. So how aware are we of this, basically like this energy of pleading, like, please like me, please like me. Or we have the sort of on the other end of the spectrum, like, oh, well, you have to work to get my approval, kind of thing. And in either case, we're in resistance to being like that or not being like that, rather than, as you were speaking to earlier, just knowing who the heck we are.
Yeah.
Like, how many of you have a clue who you truly are?
Me. Yay! And it feels so much better than how I used to be.
Exactly. And what did it take for you to get there, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like, did you just wake up one morning and go, oh, I have total ease, and I get who I be today. Wow. Yeah, it's like we kind of have, we go through this process of sort of like the wheat from the chaff, as it were. Where are we in all of this? Yeah. And so what does this have to do with beauty? Well, it's relative to the points of view that we're allowing to take precedence for us. So if you're basing your existence on what you look like, and if you're basing your relationships on what other people look like, are you really receiving as much of that person? And are you really receiving as much of you as is possible for you to be receiving?
Yeah, beautiful question.
Or have you left the majority of you outside of what you're willing to look at, outside of your scope of vision?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful question. And what popped in, y'all know I like to tell on myself. I like to give y'all real life examples. Oh my gosh. And for someone, me, who is constantly asking questions, constantly clearing crap, choosing, just like, if y'all were in my head, y'all would just spin out and die, because it's crazy in here. And Keisha knows, because her head's always going too, right? But
True that.
You think you have a pretty good handle on things. So I put myself back on dating apps about 3 weeks ago, and I started going through the process again, and I was like, wow, this is so not fun, right? And as I was talking to someone, it brought up a whole lot of stuff for me. I'm like, am I willing, like, if we went further, am I willing to actually get naked with this person? And it was a no. And I had to really get honest with myself. I'm like, wow, I am so not ready to date again. And I had to get really clear. Like, I'm looking at all the points of view that I still hold about me and
Yeah.
my body and my shape and my size and, my boobs doing what they do now. And like all of that. I had to be really honest with myself. I was like, wow, I'm not willing to go through this exercise, if you will. It's not fun. So I took my sweet self off again and I'm like, I'm doing the work again. And it's not
Wow.
work, it's play. I'm looking at it. I'm willing to be honest with me because I really do desire to be free, to be clear, to have fun, and to show up and choose a partner and not have to bullshit myself or him or her, whatever, right? Like it's a no bullshit zone.
Yeah.
So that's a real life example of like being willing to get really clear and be aware of like, am I resisting? Am I aligning? Am I agreeing? Am I judging? Right? It's just been a really interesting playground. So I wanted to throw that in if it helps at all. And all the lies of desperation that we're living from, or that we're aware other people are living from, that we're resisting and reacting to, or agreeing and aligning with, can we please just now, forevermore, just let it all go,
Yes.
release it, send it on out? Like desperation is a lie. The lies of desperate, like how much is that underneath that we don't actually claim, own, and acknowledge our authentic sovereign authority and
Mm-hmm.
power and potency, whatever it looks like, whatever way, shape, form, size, weight, color, creed, like we have the power to create and be anything we desire to be. And if we're not judging it, I wonder what could actually show up.
I love that the sexual sovereignty came into this piece. We
Yeah.
we had a conversation, freedom, independence, and sex, freedom, and independence. I think it was. It's on our list of videos if you want to look that one up. But it's so this sovereignty. Yeah, it's like, are you willing to acknowledge the beauty of you without requiring someone else's input?
Yeah.
And what is that really giving us the possibilities to play with? What is it inviting us to if that answer is a no for you in this moment? Like if you are really, there were times that I came to realize, oh my God, I'm not willing to like me unless somebody else does. But I wasn't willing to believe that somebody would like me.
Right. Yeah.
Hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Exhausting. Fall down, die. No fun. Okay? Like, it's like, how many of us do that? We're like,
and where did we buy it from?
Fucking yes.
It's like, from
who the hell does that belong to? So it's, again, like we have this magnificent marketing campaign, folks. And if you live on this planet, you've likely been exposed to it. So would you be willing for this week to play with some new possibilities about what is beautiful for you and what the beauty of you is? Would you be willing to allow that you have way more to offer than what you've ever chosen to see or acknowledge or offer to another person or to you? It's really like I get so much more clearly in this point in my life that it's really about what am I willing to offer me first.
Oh, I like that.
And I know that could sound like, oh, well, you're just a selfish bitch. Well, thank you. Yes, I can be. And sometimes I choose that. And if I'm not willing to offer me to me, if I'm not willing to let all of me show up to me, how the hell do you think I'm going to have a conversation with you?
Exactly.
Can I really offer you or anybody more? Or do I just offer you limited possibilities to have conversations about the weather?
Yeah.
Now, those of you who know me know I don't do that.
Not like, hey, do you want to play with changing the weather patterns today?
Right? Now that kind of weather conversation. But I'm like, it's like, it's just so interesting to me how hidden we want to stay, many of us. And I've done it. I still find I have moments that I'm even right in the moment, in this moment of my life, I'm bumping into some of those awarenesses of, oh shit, I'm still trying to hide. I'm saying this, but I'm not following through, and I'm doing this, but I'm not really choosing it. And so, you know,
I have those moments all the time.
Yeah. And so what would it take to be willing to be ugly? Is one.
Oh, what would it take? Okay, wait. What would it take to be willing to be ugly? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And if you play with access tools, you can ask, what energy, space, and consciousness can my body and I be that would allow us to be the ugliest person on the planet with total ease?
That's so light. Oh my God, that's so light. So explain to people why we would actually ask that.
Yeah. So when you're unwilling, when you have resistance in place to something, you actually lock it in. Now, for anybody who's played with Carolyn Meese, I think the way she used to term it is, if you send out an ugly thought about a person, you're creating like a toxic link to that person. Right. And then you're just engaged with that person and you're kind of stuck energetically. And it's the same principle. It's like, if you're unwilling, if you are in resistance, so in this case, if I'm resisting being ugly or being thought of as ugly, and let's just say that word ugly, let's say that word 5 times. Ugly. It
makes me laugh. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Do you see? So for everybody playing with this conversation, live or in the future, did you just notice the energy changed? Like, what is the word ugly? It's a word, okay? It was created to describe something. And yeah, it might describe something you don't want to look at or something you find unattractive, but what if people use it to describe you?
Yeah.
Ugly.
And what if like, because Keisha, I get that for me, like, it's light because I actually don't judge it.
Exactly.
It's a word, it has an energy to it. And I'll walk through stores and go, damn, that's ugly. Not judging it, but just meaning I wouldn't choose it.
Exactly. Right? It would not have time and space in my closet.
That would not make my house happy if I bring that home. Oh no.
Put that in my living room. No. So are you willing to be ugly? And so when we're asking, are you willing to be ugly? It's about everywhere. It's really to bring up the energy. And if you notice that any part of you gets taut or starts to constrict, or if you like have a thought or you want to check out, or any form of resistance that comes up for you is an indicator that you might have some resistance to this. Okay. And yes, I know that for a lot of us, we have like that, well, I don't want people to, say stuff on social media, or, because how many of us see those threads that people are just trashing people, to shreds because they must have nothing better to do with their life than write nasty notes on social media. I mean, really?
Get a life, yeah.
It's that person's opinion. And when you begin to be willing to be thought of as ugly, if that's what people are choosing to think about you, or that's the point of view they're going to have about you, you become more able to be aware and actually see what is really going on for the people who would choose that. Now, if you're choosing to be ugly and act ugly and do ugly, cool, play with it, relish it, roll in it, have fun with it, and see what awareness that brings you. Okay?
Yep. The willingness to be any and all energies is going to create immense freedom for you.
Absolutely.
It just is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you may, if you, however you're willing to play with this, you may find that the next time, or if you should encounter someone that wants to have that point of view about you, it just doesn't even stick you. Yep. It just rolls right on by.
Yeah,
and you have the freedom of seeing it. You can acknowledge it, and you can go on with your day. Okay. Right. And so in a dating scenario, when you go to have fun with this, guys, whoever's willing to do this, because I don't have any speed dating events that I go to, but I would wonder, so I wonder what would happen if we went to a speed dating event with that in place, like we started to run that process, okay, or that question. I wonder how many people could find me ugly. Wow. Okay, now that's a magic tool I just gave you, folks. If you didn't catch it, I'm going to repeat it. I wonder how many people can find me ugly in here. So start playing with that question. And I'm not even going to tell you what's possible for that to create. You start to notice what that creates. And I'm going to just invite you, when you ask the question, if you can ask it from a place of having fun with it,
Yeah, total
not
play.
from a way to punish yourself or make yourself wrong or find proof that people won't like you. That's not where to play with it from. If you'll play with it from, how much fun could I have with this? So just pretend you're like going to check off boxes on a page or something. How many people in here can find me ugly? Now, no, I'm just not even going to tell you what's going to happen. Okay.
Don't tell them.
Just play with it. Or, you don't have to be in a speed dating event. You could just take one of your days, like wake up in the morning.
Your day.
And when you have, errands to run, whatever, throughout your day, before you walk into a store, before you go to a restaurant or whatever, just, I wonder how many people could find me ugly in here. So how many people can think I'm ugly today? And start playing with that energy. And I can almost not even say it without laughing because it's so light for me in this moment because I'm so going to play with this some more.
Yeah.
So just start to notice what comes up for you. And if you want to give us feedback about that, we would love that. We would totally love that.
Oh my gosh, guys, there's a hummingbird that just like literally was right in front of the window and was right there. Was like, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, universe. Thank you. Beautiful. Oh my God. Sorry. Wanted to be acknowledged and spoken to. Hello. Well, it's funny, Keisha, when you were talking, I wrote down what would it take to be willing to be beautiful. And what I perceived for myself was all of the places and spaces that I've actually resisted that. And I spoke to it. It's like, wow. And so going back to earlier part in the conversation, law of attraction, right? Everything is vibrational. So if you continuously have a thread in your universe or an underlying thought of, I don't want people to think I'm ugly. Or I don't want to be right. There are two sides of every spectrum. There's what we do want, and then there's the underlying component of what we don't want. And it's usually the hidden one that sticks us. And so that wanted to be spoken to. But it's like, I'm so clear that as of late, somewhere I've bought that I actually don't want people to perceive me as beautiful. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Who the fuck does that belong to? And what is all that? So I'll be playing with that.
Well, that's the next tool.
The ugly piece. Okay, go.
That's the next tool. So play with the ugly question first.
Yep.
And then play with, I wonder how many people could find me beautiful. Now, isn't it interesting?
The lightness.
Isn't it interesting that there's more heaviness around that question?
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't it interesting? And so there's this fascinating thing we do that it's easier to find something ugly than it is to find something beautiful. How much more judgment does beautiful require you to have?
So much more. Return all that to senders, please.
Isn't that fascinating?
Wow.
Now, so here's a part of this. Here's a component of this. How much beauty are you willing to see? And how much beauty are you willing to let others see of you? Let me rephrase that. How much beauty of you are you willing to let others see? And again, there's a lot of judgment, and because this is still not really light. And when Rhonda and I are talking about lightness, for those of you who might be new to the conversations, we're looking for when that energy unlocks. We're looking for that little something that feels like that lightness or that expansion or that, okay? And that's an energetic cue. It's one of the tools we play with. It's part of how we work, that lets us know there's something shifting and something now. And so it's a little bit lighter than it was, but it's fascinating, endlessly so to me.
Yeah.
That when we ask a question about beauty, there's so much more heaviness because we have so much more judgment attached.
Yeah. And what I wrote down after those, because those are brilliant, is how much beauty are you willing to be for you?
For you, exactly.
Because the being, how much can I be beauty for me? No one else.
Yeah.
Wow, this is such an interesting. All these energies are so interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a cool conversation.
Who told you? Did someone ever tell you that you can't be beautiful? And did you buy that?
Yeah, and even if they didn't say it in words, we heard it. We heard the thoughts. We heard the underlying. They'd say there would be a backhanded compliment, right? Or I know for me, I was almost a 10-pound baby at birth. And so I was a really big frame. I was a really big presence. And for my stepdad, it totally tweaked his universe. Like he was very thin and slight. and came from so much judgment. And I just always remember how much I always felt wrong for being the size and the shape and the presence that I was. Oh my gosh, so interesting. So interesting. So everything that is
You
returning,
know what? That brought up because they called me a butterball baby,
right?
and I think somewhere a picture still exists, like in a large. My mom had or my grandmother or somebody framed a really large picture to put on the wall of one of my baby pictures, and they referred to me as butterball baby, and
Which to me is such a beautiful compliment, but
I know.
it's a wrongness, right? It's
But then when you're 3 and they're, then they don't want to have to call you butterball anymore.
yeah.
You're supposed to just automatically, because that's part of what beauty is, right?
Yeah, so I'm just going to, on behalf of all the bodies on this
Mm-hmm.
planet, every single 7+ million of 7.5, all the
Billion
unkindness that was
of us.
delivered, all of the judgment, all of the condemnation, all of the aggressive, vitriolic malevolence that was delivered at all of our bodies in this lifetime or any other. I am now, on behalf of all of us, going to do this to it and say, no more. We're not buying it. We're returning it to sender. It ain't true. It ain't real. And we're going to choose something different now. Thank you very much for the information. I don't have to hate you. I don't have to judge you. I'm just grateful for the information. And
Yeah,
I will now, on my behalf, and you can choose it too if you'd like, just choose something different. We're aware of it. Okay, cool.
beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And this is the key, folks. If you could play with it as thank you for the information, would you just be willing to receive the information and then make your choice? So if somebody delivers ugliness to you, unkindness to you, and has an interesting point of view about how you look or how you smell or how you talk or how you walk or the art you produce or the way you cook dinner, like, would you be willing to receive the information from it? And then would you be willing to make a choice for you?
Yeah.
And you don't have to make a choice in reaction to the information. You can actually make a choice that works for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because usually what people are delivering at us is their judgments, is their
exactly,
own stuff. It has nothing to do with
exactly.
you.
And all of our judgment, folks, is based on what we are or are not willing to be ourselves.
Yeah.
Everybody's judgment is based on that.
Yeah.
No matter what it is they're hurling at you, what kind of comments they're using, everybody's judgment is based on what we are willing or not willing to be.
Yeah. Ooh, there's
Oh, you
yeah,
are so beautiful.
so beautiful. Each and every one. Oh my gosh, I'm just like, I'm in awe of it all. And let me remind you guys, another great tool is if you have no barriers, and I mean no energetic walls, force fields, none of it up. I mean no barriers. It will not stick to you. It cannot hurt you. You can't feel the pain. It dissipates. Whatever comes at you, it just dissolves.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I can tell when I have my barriers up because as I'm perceiving, whether it's judgments at me or just in general, I get that, that hurts. I'm like, oh, do I have barriers up? And whoof, everything dissipates, right? So if you're willing to have no barriers and just let everything flow, it feels a lot better for your body. I promise. And
Totally.
it's a muscle. You got to play with the muscle.
Those muscle things.
Oh, those muscles are so beautiful, so sexy.
They are beautiful, yes. Oh my goodness. I'm acknowledging each and every one of you. I'm so grateful that you are willing to even play with this topic. This is such an enormous topic. We've only skimmed the surface, so to speak. So just sort of caress the cheek of beauty. And what else is now possible for us to play with allowing our own beauty to show up, allowing ourselves to acknowledge our beauty for ourselves. And what if it was based on no component? What if it had nothing to do with femininity, masculinity, organic, conventional? What if it had no conditions? You just simply are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Are you willing to receive that? Are you willing to be that? Are you willing to allow that to create for you without trying to freeze frame it without trying to capture it, with just, if you were just to allow beautiful you to show up in your own life, what would actually become available to you? Whether that's more ease, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a job, whether that's a business, whether that's a company, whether that's a whatever, however that shows up as.
I love that. Wendy says, a resounding yes, I am willing to receive all of my beauty, which leads me to the question that was the percolating, or the statement was, universe, please show me the beauty I truly be. Show
Yes.
me the beauty I truly be. Universe, show me something beautiful today. Like, however you want it, but ask the universe to show you, and then be willing to receive it and watch what shows up. Like, oh my gosh, amaze balls. Yeah. I'm writing this down. Hang on. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. So
just know, folks, if you have stuff coming up, and if you desire or require facilitation, Rhonda and I are honored to play with the possibilities of that, and would love to facilitate you, would love to work with you. Reach out. If you have someone in place that you do that with, reach out if that is appropriate for you. If you would like to submit questions, there's an email address on the follow-up emails and on the text below this video. If you're watching it as a replay, send us an email, ask us a question. I would love to say the Facebook page is up, and in this 10 seconds as of August the 16th, it's not, but if it's after August the 16th, look for the Facebook page. The link would be somewhere on our YouTube channel as well. And
yeah, people can find us individually as well. Exactly. And we'll coordinate, you know, like, we're both on Facebook. We both have our A to Zen host pages. Yeah. You know, we are accessible, and it is our target to contribute to the greatness of each and every one of us, right? And that's, I think, one of the resounding differences of Keisha and myself is, you know, we live this every single day. We walk the talk, and we invite others to the greatness and the beauty of themselves. So if something's sticking you, or you're not sure, you need a concept clarified, whatever, let us know. So conversationswithkr@gmail.com is our current email address. Facebook, A to Zen, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, whatever it takes, right? Like, you can find us. You really can. Oh my gosh.
Rhonda, thank you.
I was about to say the same thing. I'm so grateful.
Oh my gosh, so I adore you.
Gratitude for all of you and everybody joining us today live and viewing these in the future. Just thank you. And I believe and know you to be beautiful in every way, shape, and form. Yeah, that's what I know. Yeah.
And everything that doesn't allow you to know your beauty and be willing to receive your beauty, however that shows up in your life, in your body, in your world, would you be willing to choose beyond everywhere you allowed that to stick you?
Yes.
Universe, show me the beauty I truly be. And Lily is putting an exclamation point on that, so we're definitely on to something. So
right.
Okay.
Have an amazing week, everybody. Just keep choosing, keep playing, and I'll get these questions formulated. We'll get the email out to you within 24 hours. And what else is possible, right?
Yay! How much beauty can you be and receive this week with Total Eve, my friends? We adore you. We're grateful. Have fun. Enjoy it. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.